Krishna, Hare Krishna. Jabi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishna. I'm bewildered. What's the text number? We're starting chapter 13, right? Yeah. Okay. It's definitely not where it is here. We went all the way through chapter 12? Yeah. Okay. Did we read chapter 13, the intro? No. Oh, okay. So we're going to do chapter 13, text number 1 and 2, and then we'll do the intro. Shri Sukha Uvacha Vritrahate Trayoloka Vina Sakrina Burida Chapalahi Abhavan Sadhyo Vijvara Nirvitendriyaha. Translation: Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, O King Parikshit, who are so charitably disposed, when Vritrasura was killed, all the presiding deities and everyone else in the 3 planetary systems was immediately pleased and free from trouble. Everyone, that is, except Indra. Devarshi Pitra Bhutani Daitya Devanoga Svayam Prati Jagmu Svadishnani Brahmesendra Dayastata. Deva, demigods. Rishi, great saintly persons. Pitri, the inhabitants of Pitraloka. Bhutani, and the other living entities. Daitya, demons. Deva Anugaha, the inhabitants of the other planets following the principles of the demigods. Svayam, independently, without asking permission from Indra. Prati Jagmu, returned. Svadishyani, to their respective planets and homes. Brahma, Lord Brahma. Isha, Lord Shiva. Indradayaha, and the demigods headed by Indra. Tata, thereafter. Translation: Thereafter the demigods, the great saintly persons, the inhabitants of Pitraloka and Bhutaloka, the demons, the followers of the demigods, and also Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the demigods subordinate to Indra, all returned to their respective homes. While departing, however, no one spoke to Indra. Purport: in this connection, somebody can help me with the Sanskrit. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the other demigods returned to their respective abodes, but Indra did not, for he was disturbed at having killed Vritrasura, who was actually a Brahmana. After killing Vritrasura, Indra went to Manasa Sarovar lake to become free from sinful reactions. When he left the lake, He performed an Ashvamedha Yagya and then returned to his own abode. Omaganyati mirandasya Ginanjanan Chalakaya Chakshun Militam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Didati Svaparantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyata Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna. Take the blessings of the devotees that I can speak something. That's of value spiritually. I'm going to read the intro to this verse as well. King Indra, the name of the chapter, King Indra, afflicted by sinful reaction. This chapter describes Indra's fear at having killed a Brahmana, Vritrasura, and it describes how he fled and was saved by the grace of Lord Vishnu. When all the demigods requested Indra to kill Vritrasura, he refused, because Vritrasura was a Brahmana. The demigods, however, encouraged Indra not to fear killing him because Indra was protected by the Narayan Kavacha. Who gave him that? The Narayan Kavacha, you remember? Who gave Indra the Narayan Kavacha? The other Brahmana that he killed? Vishvarup. This is his second go-around. This is his second time killing a Brahmana. So he gets the Narayan Kavacha and they say, don't worry about it, go ahead, you can do it. Even by a glimpse of the chanting of Narayan's name, one becomes free from all sinful reactions of killing a woman, a cow, or a Brahmana. The demigods advised Indra to perform an Ashvamedha sacrifice, by which Narayan would be pleased, for the performer of such a sacrifice is not implicated in sinful reactions, even if he kills the entire universe. Following this instruction from the demigods, King Indra fought Vritrasura, but when Vritrasura was killed, everyone was satisfied but King Indra, who knew Vritrasura's position. This is the nature of a great personality. Even if a great personality acquires some opulence, he is always ashamed and regretful if he acquires it illegally. Indra could understand that he was certainly entangled by sinful reactions for killing a Brahmana. Indeed, he could see sinful reaction personified following him, and thus he fled here and there in fear, thinking of how to rid himself of his sins. He went to Manasa Sarovar Lake, and there, under the protection of the goddess of fortune, he meditated for 1,000 years. During this time, Nahusa reigned over the heavenly planets as a representative of Indra. Unfortunately, however, he was attracted by the beauty of Indra's wife, Sachi Devi. Because of his sinful desire, he had to accept the body of a serpent in his next life. Indra later performed a great sacrifice with the help of exalted Brahmanas and saints. In this way, he was released from the reactions of his sinful killing of the Brahmana. So, there's a lot going on in this little section, and hopefully it's appropriate to our attempts at being Krishna conscious. When I was in 3rd grade, I got a little bit good at math. And somehow the students started to recognize I was pretty good at it, because we had this thing called Mad Minute. Has anybody ever heard of Mad Minute? No? You have? You did? Wow, what a smile. And I'm saying your time. So what's Mad Minute? It's 1 minute, you got a piece of paper, and it's literally mad. They time you, and then you flip the paper over, you write your name, and then you have to get as many problems as you can right, and then you turn it in. And if you complete it, you go on to the next one. And if you don't, then you just have to like keep doing the same one. And so I wasn't that great at math, but I knew how to do it. And so I started to like, not just like beat the other, because it was every day. Not just like beat everybody, but I just like crushed everybody. It wasn't even close. This nearest person, after like maybe 100 days or something, I was like 30 or 40 ahead of everybody. And so people were like, wow, this is great, and I was started to get a little bit proud. And then I started to try to figure out, how do I accelerate my mad minute prowess? So I thought, well, one way I could do it is if I saw a few of these questions before, then I could really do it, because all the papers came out and they put them like this on your desk. And so there was a way that if you just took it, because the teacher, she was Mrs. Miller, her name was, she could see, so I would go like this, and I would get 2 answers right away. So I knew I flipped it over, first one's 16, next one's 22, okay, phew, and then I would go, so I'd get 2 ahead. And then I had a friend, Don, old Donnie, and he was the one that passed out the papers. And I said, Don, I'm doing really good at this mad minute. You want to help a brother out here? Can you, when you get my paper, can you do number 3 for me? Just know what that one is, and then when you pass it out, just give me the answer. And we were good friends, so we said, oh yeah, no problem. So then when the paper would come, I'd have 1, 2, and then he would give me 3. He'd say like 14 or something like that, because he'd have to pass it out and flip it over. So now I'm 3 problems up on Mad Minute immediately. Oh my God. So Don's implicated. I'm implicated now because I know I'm cheating. And now we're a few 100 days into the system, and I'm just killing it, and they're trying to, push me to be some type of math star now, but in my heart, I'm feeling a little bit bad. And steadily next to me sat Paul. No joke, his name was Paul. He was very sober. Still, to this day, I swear he must have been a yogi. He was, in 3rd grade, you're always excited about stuff. Paul was just always sober, and he was just always very self-controlled guy. And he wasn't cheating. He was just, he'd get the paper, and he'd go. And he wasn't catching me, but I could see he was the best in the class. He was just steadily moving forward, and I'm doing this thing. And I figured out a way to sign my name even quicker, so then, and then I just kept going. But I kept going, but the entire time, after Paul got implicated and I got implicated, I started to realize that actually this guy next to me, he's the best. He's the best in class. He's not cheating. He knows what's going on, and he's the real deal. And I started to crumble under the pressure. My mad minute started to decline, my skills. And I started to feel very bad. I'm 3rd grade. Mrs. Miller, I'm feeling like I put the wool over her. I pulled the wool over her eyes. Now I'm looking at Miss Miller, and I can't look her in the eye properly during mad minute time because I know I'm actually cheating the entire time. And this is the feeling that sometimes we have, even in Krishna consciousness, isn't it? We have this thing where, we're advancing. Look at, I'm advancing, but then we see the person next to us who's steadily progressing in their Krishna consciousness, and we feel like, oh my God, this is me. I might be doing the things, but is it going deep? Is this process transforming the heart? And then what is our process if we know that there's a duplicity in our heart? What's our process for transforming that? And so this was always a question that I had growing up as well. Because we had this process of, I grew up in a Lutheran church, we had the process of communion. And communion was it. You could do whatever you want, as long as you hit up communion, you're good. And I remember I left the church when I was young. I couldn't get into it, and always the family was always hoping that I would come back to the church. Because if you came back to the church, that was one thing, but everybody knew if you could come back to the church, but if you were taking those steps up to communion, you guys know what communion is? Communion is when you go and you take like a wafer, the body of It's like prashad. You take the body of Jesus, and then you take the blood of Jesus, and it's like prashad. But blood meaning, it was like, I think we had grape juice or something like that. And if you did that, you were like freed. So I remember one time I went back to the church, and I sat in the church service for some time. My family's there. And then the moment comes when everybody goes up to communion, and it's all eyes are on me very subtly. Is this guy going to go and be freed here or what? This sinful little fellow, what's his deal? And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, God, I can feel the pressure. I don't really want to, but I'm feeling the pressure. Should I do it? So without looking at anyone, I just get up and I start walking. I just started walking. I didn't even get there yet. My grandmother loses it, just starts crying. She's losing it over there, crying. The rest of my family, oh, he's back. They're hugging each other as I'm going up there. Take the wafer, take the thing, and and I come back. There's more hugs than I can deal with. Yes. Somebody's holding my hand. You're a believer again. It's amazing, so great. And I'm feeling like, really? In my heart. I don't want to disappoint. I'm not being whatever, but I'm just thinking, is this really the process that we have? What is the process of our atonement, actually? What is the process of our rectifying our heart? Is that it? And practically speaking, I wasn't living like a very sinful life or anything like that. It's just, this is what happened. And so now, all of a sudden, because I did this one act, does that free me from these things? And so in the same way, what is our process so that when there's something in the heart, or that we're doing something that's out of alignment, is this what frees us from that? And this happens all the time. This isn't just in the, in the devotee world, or just, these tendencies, they run so deep. In our culture, they're even glorified. These qualities where we're doing something one way and maybe something else is going on the inside. There's a famous example in the last few years. If you all know me, my brother's a bike racer, and I always say this. I said, he's a bike racer like Lance Armstrong, because that's kind of like the only bike racer that people know, right? He's like a biker like Lance Armstrong. And everybody, oh yeah, I get it. Huh? Yeah, exactly. But then if you look at the history of that sport, this fellow that, he was winning so many races. He won the world record 7 times, the Tour de France and all of these different things. And yet they all got stripped away from him because of the cheating propensity, and so what is the process when we're doing those things so how do we get clean? How do we get free of all of that stuff? And this is something that to me was so attractive with Krishna consciousness, because it always goes to the root of the issue. It doesn't stay on top. And this was a question that happened earlier in the 6th canto. Parikshit Maharaj asked the same question. He's kind of bewildered. Wait a minute, hold on. People are going all over these different planetary systems. People are going to hell? Whoa. How do we stop people from going to hell? He has this concern in his heart. How do we stop these people from going to a hellish place? How do we help them to not go to a hellish place? And his guru, Sukadev, says, what does he say? The first thing he says, this is early in the 6th canto. Remember this part? It's such a good part. First thing he says. Yeah. He says, actually, what you got to do is you got to atone for your sins. You got to atone for your sins. You got to do some type of sacrifice. You did this thing. Now you got to do some type of sacrifice to get free of that. Free yourself, for crying out loud. And he's testing his disciple. And what does Parikshit say? Yeah, he says, no. He says, there's got to be something more than this. You kidding me? And then he compares it to the bathing of an elephant. Parikshit says, this is like the bathing of an elephant. You do that one time, and then you free yourself, but does it clean you? You walk up to the communion, you hit the prashad. Is it finished? No, it's not finished, Because what's in the heart? So then he asks him again, no, but what, I mean, come on, take me a little bit deeper. And then what does he say? The second place he takes him. He says, you got to develop knowledge. And this seems very reasonable, right? Well, you should develop knowledge of why you're doing that sinful activity. You should understand the knowledge of this world. You should be able to distinguish between a spiritual activity and a material activity. Okay? And how does he feel about that answer? Parikshit's thinking, well, even if I get knowledge of what's spiritual and what's material, I mean, is that going to cut to the root of the problem, or am I just going to, I need something more, coach. I need to help me out here. And then Sukadeva Goswami gives the process. Finally, he says, well, actually, the real thing is pure devotional service. He says, you need to do service. You need to do devotional service with Supreme Personality of Godhead. And how does that help? Well, because it cuts to the root of the problem. Adipurush Prabhu, I think in my years of your morning classes, this is one of Adipurush Prabhu's main themes. He said it so many times. You have to cut to the root of the problem. Because you have to burn away the sinful desire in the heart. But the only way you can do that is if your Krishna consciousness is awakened. And is it powerful enough to do that? That's the question, right? Because unless we have faith that it's powerful enough to do that, then why would we take that? I'm good. I'd rather, I cheated on my mad minute test. I'd rather, counteract that, do a Vedic sacrifice to somebody. Sorry about that. That seems better to me because then I know it's canceled and I'm good and I'm moving forward. But I forgot about what was a little bit deeper in the heart. I didn't catch the seed of that yet. And now it's going to come up in a different way. And we've all experienced that, haven't we? It's like you do something and, with one desire, and then you think, anyway, I'm good with that. And then it pops up in a different direction. And it's practically the same thing. And it might even be the same activity, but it just shows up in a different form, shows up in a different way. So we have to get to the root of it. So he asks us those three things, and is it strong enough? So then we need confirmation that it's strong enough. So I think in the 11th canto, is this where Krishna is speaking to Uddhava? 11th canto, Krishna says to Uddhava, he says, this fire of devotional service, it will burn to pieces all of those sinful desires that are in the heart. He says, take to this devotional service. We need to take to this devotional service. He calls it a blazing fire. And through that blazing fire, then it can transform the seeds, the roots that are also in the heart. And to bring it home to, to the 20th, 21st century, we were just speaking about great devotee Haigriv, who was one of the first pioneers in the movement and had so much association with Prabhupada, so much love from Srila Prabhupada. And then seemingly took to a very materialistic type of way of life. Left the devotee association, did different activities. And then what happened? Towards the end of his life, Adipurush Prabhu knows the story better than anybody, but towards the end of his life, he ended up coming back into Krishna consciousness. Not just coming back into Krishna consciousness, but full on giving his mind, his heart, his body, his words. There was nothing else left. There's only this Radhanath Maharaj said. There's nothing else left but his Krishna consciousness. All of that love that he had for Srila Prabhupada, all that Prabhupada invested in his heart came burning forth. And all of those different desires, all those different things, he's just reading CC. He's just absorbed, fully absorbed in the Leelas, the pastimes of the Lord, when he left this world. And so that's a beautiful, practical example of how the process of devotional service can actually burn all of those different desires. Completely gone. We've met devotees that, one day they're a certain way and then you come back, you see them 6 months later or something, and that thing that they were before is completely different. You can just see the layers have been shed. How does that happen? It wasn't through their, Vedic sacrifice. It wasn't through their, deep studies. You can feel almost in their presence. Krishna is manifesting now. He's helping this devotee to move forward. It's very powerful. Guru is helping this devotee to come closer. I remember I asked, because I still was curious about this, I asked Shamananda Prabhu about this as well, and because I said, I mean, Shamananda, there's certain things in this world, like material activities that, there's pious and there's impious activities. And to me, it just seems like a pious activity is a lot better than an impious activity, You do something good, you feel like, well, at least I did something good in this world. And I said, can you explain a little bit how this works from a devotee's perspective, the pious and impious activities? Because that's there, right? Anyway, I watched Netflix too late last night, so I'm going to, I come to Mangal Arti. Let me at least balance that out, So I said, what's the difference between the pious activity and the impious activity? And he gave a great example. And he gave the example of the circus. Did you hear that example? Example of the circus? Because he said when he was growing up, the circus came to his town. And it was amazing. I guess, I don't know where he grew up, but I can just imagine a little Indian boy running around. The circus comes to town. He's really happy. And they go to the circus, and they get in the circus, and they're really excited. And he's with all of his buddies, and they pay $10 or something and he, throws the ball in the hoop, or he whacks the thing, and, he gets a bunch of tickets, and he gets 10,000 tickets. He wins something huge, and he's completely excited. Circus is there for 4 days, and so he's really excited. He got 10,000 tickets. He went with $10. Now he's got 10,000 tickets. He's telling all his friends, come to the circus. Look, I got 10,000 tickets. We'll have a good time. He's having a good time. They're playing all the games. He keeps winning more and more and more. He's got over 10,000 tickets now. His friends are having fun. Everybody's having a good time. And so then it's the last day of the circus, Thursday night, and he goes to cash in his 10,000 tickets, and he's thinking, I made bank. I came to the circus and I made bank. And they say, well, actually, you can't cash in your tickets. It's, you have to get a stuffed animal or something. It's all circus tickets, so it's not. I'm not going to give you money back. You have to take some of these toys. And he said, I don't want any of these toys. Well, that's what you have to do, because these are tokens. They're not actual money. He said, this is the pious and impious activities. Everything we're doing, pious and impious, is happening here in the material atmosphere. Can't cash it in. At the end of life, we can't cash it in. Oh, you're such a pious person. You can't cash it in. The real thing is to cash in that the things that we did that pleased Krishna, that we really tried, that we actually attempted to please Guru, that we really tried to please the Vaishnavas, that we really tried to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those are the ones that we can actually cash in. So that's a few thoughts that I had. We got about 10 minutes. Let's open it up for a little discussion on this, because there's also one little social psychology that's happening here that I could really connect to and relate to. There's this little feeling, such an interesting feeling. I don't know if you've ever had this. If you played sports sometimes, you might have had this experience. Indra does the difficult duty. He's feeling bad, and yet nobody's talking to him. His teammates. If you paid attention to the word for word, it says, the inhabitants of the other planets, they all independently, without asking permission from Indra, left. Right? You killed the demon, I'm safe. Thank you. I'm out of here. And that is just such a, as Arjuna Prabhu says, gives me a shock. It just makes me, gives me a chill. If you can imagine that scenario where he's with all of his friends and he's with all of even his disciples practically. He does the difficult duty, and everybody just kind of see ya. See you later. Thanks. Bye. And he's just feeling like, I can't believe I just did that. I've already did it, and I knew what that sinful reaction was. I did it again. Ultimately, we see what happens. A very interesting way that he tries to free himself, but ultimately, because of his worship of Vishnu, he becomes freed from those reactions. But he just feels terrible. This is something that we also feel sometimes as devotees. Sometimes we do something, we just feel absolutely terrible. And I can relate to this. When you feel terrible, it's one thing, but when you feel terrible and alone, oh, nothing like it. Nothing like it. And what happens very sweetly later is that everybody comes to help him. You know, all of these brahmanas and all of these different exalted saintly people, they come. They pick him up again, but nothing like that. So any other thoughts on this? Hari Purush Prabhu? Sky Bear made it back. Yeah. Really? Yeah, thank you for that. The distinction between the activity and the person is so powerful, so important. Right. And you have to make distinction. Yeah. 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 Well, the interesting feature of this pastime, apparently in the Bhagavatam, is that in other versions of the Bhagavatam, what's glorified is Indra killing. In our version, the glorification goes to Vritrasura because of his exalted love for Krishna, actually. So in other versions, it's like, yeah, Indra came through and killed him, you know, and that's like the powerful thing. That's like Indra did it. But in our version, that's not what's glorified. What's glorified is the love that he had for Krishna. Other translations of the Bhagavatam, not Prabhupada's. Yeah. So the whole point is that the main thing is that what we're focused on the Bhagavatam is how to love Krishna. And so what we focus on in this pastime is the love that Vritrasura had, actually. And that, I mean, if you're into any type of coaching or anything like that, you can't believe the statements he was making. It was so beautiful. What love, what mentality, incredible the way that he did his duty. And this is sometimes something that we'll be faced with. It's to me it was just very akin to the Bhagavad Gita, where he has to do something he really doesn't want to do, but because it's going to please the Supreme Personality of God, he's doing it. And he's coaching the other person, the other devotee, how to become a deeper devotee as he's doing it. He's telling him, you got to do like this. Why? Because Vishnu gave you this, so you need to do this. Follow the orders, you know. And he's coaching him in such a beautiful way. He's making him a deeper devotee. See, this is. Yeah, he gets lifted. Through his association, he gets lifted again and again and again. He gets lifted. Yeah. He did the same thing twice. You know, he killed a Brahmana. The first time he just did it out of anger. What are you doing? You giving this to the demons? You know, just quick. And so he didn't get such a reaction. Now he had to do it knowingly. Now he's not, I can't kill him. He's a Brahmin. You got to do it. All the friends egging him on, you know? Do it. Oh, he got a little thunderbolt there for 1 year. Oh, so painful. He's got to do this duty. He does it. Just feels terrible. And then everybody, thanks. They're gone. Oh. But later on, he comes back. Anything else? How wonderful is Krishna? My God, he's incredible. Rooks, you got any thoughts? No, I just, in my heart, I still feel terrible. It's 40 years later, huh? My brain is, I can't do any math more. Never got caught, no. It's still there. No. There they go. Spring, you had something to say?
Yeah, I'm not sure I have all the thoughts put together, but I'm always, Indra to me is such an interesting character. It's like he's constantly put in these positions where we can actually see ourselves in him, whether it's going back to the Krishna book and
Govardhan, yeah.
All the emotions that he's got, the reactions he's got, which are so much like sort of us and even higher, right? And so I'm always constantly kind of amazed by Indra in these stories as he's going through this stuff, because we're not pure devotees either, and so we're going through the same kind of, have the same kind of reactions to things, etc.
Totally.
He finds his way out, we can find our way out too.
Totally. That's a great point. We can glorify Indra like that because he's just such an amazing devotee. And sometimes you hear in, Bhagavatam class or something like devotees just kind of hitting up Indra. Indra, he's just like this. He's not pure. It's like, come on. He's got darshan of the Lord so many times. He's incredible personality, and he's our guru. He teaches us so much, actually. And then the way that he always humbles himself, He goes and gets Mother Sarabi and bows down and, is there, to humble his pride, like that. And so, yeah, he teaches us. And then it happens again. It teaches us so much. It happens again a lot of times because it also shows that, our material desires are not so, it's not so easy to just, anyway, they're gone. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of times association, then also to be, it's always a great warning, because that's why Dhanara Maharaj always talks about, these are the stories of kings, high position, those in high position. So it gives us a warning. As devotees, our aspiration isn't to climb the material ladder. We may get put there, but that's not our aspiration, actually, because when we get there, there's always those pitfalls of having so much more and position and pride and all that kind of stuff. Arjun, you got any thoughts? You got any thoughts, Arjun? No? Nothing coming? Okay. Anything else, Ananda Bihari?
Sometimes, things happen in the devotees. Suppose someone has let you down, a devotee, and you have to be a devotee.
Mm-hmm.
You're working on the project together, and you're
Right.
or he yells at you, whatever.
Yeah.
And then because I'm so full of pride, arrogance, so I respond. So we're supposed to be humble.
What's that?
We're supposed to be humble. And, at the same time, whenever
Yeah, yeah, totally.
This pastime between Rikasur and Indra, they both devotees. And they could have just said, you're a devotee, I'm a devotee, that's where I went, that was down and it was finished. But they still fought.
Hmm.
So is that how we're supposed to do?
There's many different angles of vision of this pastime, huh? Oh, wow. It's a really... That's a really great question. I like Arjuna always says, he says, you know, pride breeds pride. So sometimes you get around a devotee and you just feel more prideful, you know, and that's what happens. And so then pride will breed pride. It will bring that out of you, you know. And so we can see that first in ourselves. You know, we're looking at the other devotee, we're saying, you're so prideful. You can't see that in a devotee unless you have lots in your heart. And so, I mean, this is a very exalted pastime. This is really amazing. How are they taking each other deeper into the pure devotional service? But I think those situations it's always situational. You know, how do you respond to a devotee? Very situational. I mean, it really depends on, you know, there's times where you may have to, you know, stand your ground and speak truth in a certain way. There's other times where you may have to. It depends on the relationship, actually. Depends on the relationship that you have with the person. And getting guidance always from others is always really important in devotee situation, because you never want to offend a devotee, but it's always good to... Huh? Yeah. I don't think so. You wouldn't still be here if you failed every time. But also, you know, yeah, like getting guidance from others is really important. Other senior devotees that can see these things clearly. And then also, when we were with Visheshika Prabhu, and he was saying, you know, sometimes you just got to let things just, like, don't respond. And they work themselves out. And he said, that's my, how did he say it? He said, that's my mantra. You know, like, you know, you get an urgent email, respond, you need to do this now, come on, get this together, what's your problem, you know? If you let things go for a little bit, you see, actually, Krishna just starts working those things out. You don't interfere with the flow that's already happening. Helpful? Okay. Thank you all so much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Enam kan Pure Saiva